in a heartbreaking turn of events. The batteries for my ambiance candles in the background are dead. And that's what I get for leaving them on for days and days and days straight and forgetting that they were on in the first place. Hello everybody. I'm going to be telling you guys about every book I read in July, August, and September. We're just going to kind of sit down and chat. But first, I do want to say a huge thank you to today's sponsor, which is of course Squarespace. You guys know I've talked about them so many times. If you need to make a website for any reason, Squarespace is 100% the way to go. They have so many different tools there to help you build the website to the best that it can be. They have the best analytics. That way you can see the best way to run your website, who's coming, where from, what's working the best. They help you keep people engaged and bringing them back to your website with their email campaigns, and they're here to help you make those as well. You can also now sell content on Squarespace, whether that's blogs, videos, courses, whatever it may be, you decide. You can also decide if it's a one-time fee or an annual payment. If you're interested, head on over to squarespace.com to start your free trial. And when you guys are ready to launch, head on over to squarespace.com/DestinySidwell to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. As always, thank you so much again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. One of my pet peeves on my iPad is that if I haven't used an app in like a week, it just deletes itself. I know it's a storage issue, I know, but it's still very annoying. Is this kind of a vibe? Is this lighting kind of vibey? I don't know. Let's start from the beginning. So we are starting off in July, and let me tell you, we are not starting off too strong. The first book that I read in July was The Love of My Afterlife, and I actually gave this one a 2.5 stars. The Love of My Afterlife is about our main character. She basically dies. That sounds very, what is the word that I'm looking for? Serious, but it's told in like the most unserious way possible. And basically when she dies, she goes to the afterlife, and she is in this room and she meets this very bubbly, bright person who is in the afterlife, who basically is like, yeah, here is what your life looked like. They both kind of have this conclusion that our main character didn't do a lot with her life and was very just inside, not talking to a lot of people, didn't have a lot of friends. And so basically the woman who like works in the afterlife does this thing where she says within a certain amount of days you have to find this guy that she met in the lobby of the afterlife. This is all very, y'all, very confusing, but she's like, if you see him in this amount of days, it might have been like 10 or so days, then you can stay there, but if you don't, you have to come back and you're gonna die. Here's the thing, didn't love this one at all. I didn't love the way it was written. I also didn't love our main character. Most of the time I was either embarrassed or annoyed by her. Some of the things like she would say or do, it was just one of those moments where you're just like, why would you do that? Like why? It was very tough to get through. Also, the romance in this book, I just wasn't like fully at all really behind. Like I remember not really caring about the romance that much. I still thought like parts of the book were light and funny and very quirky, and the end of the book got me a little bit where I was like, okay, this is like a nice way to wrap it up. Like at least I feel like we kind of had a purpose for most of the things that were happening in the book along the way. However, the next book that I read in July was Left of Forever, and this book I really did enjoy. This book I gave it 4 stars. I really liked the plot of this one. Basically it is a second chance romance. Our female main character got pregnant at 16, I believe, and basically now their son is going off to college. They got a divorce along the way like a few years ago. They obviously have been cordial, kind of in the same circles and stuff. Their son is going off to college. They decide to do this road trip. They know that they're going to have to go on this road trip together for their son to send him off to college. In doing that, they haven't really, like, they're cordial, but they haven't really crossed paths in that way in a few years. In doing that, they know that they have to like come to terms with some of the things that happened to ultimately lead to the demise of their relationship. And here's something I will say. I am very particular in my second chance romances, especially if it's a second chance romance surrounding a marriage ending, because, you know, second chance romances, the whole entire thing is like you find out like in a third act way majority of the time why the relationship fell apart in the first place. I will say with this one, I did appreciate it because another second chance romance that I really enjoyed that did the same thing is Before I Let Go. by Kennedy Ryan. And in both of these books, they both ultimately are not in a relationship with each other because of a more like emotional thing that was happening between them. It made it a lot easier to root for them and want to see them back together, and to see that there was definitely still love there, that ultimately the relationship didn't fall apart because one person wasn't right for the other person. So with Left of Forever, it also was a very emotional, there's a lot of emotional topics discussed in this, especially surrounding their marriage and kind of the things that happened, again, to ultimately lead to their divorce. So seeing that representation more so than taking on like a toxic second chance romance, I really appreciate. But also I liked the way that we went about their relationship coming back together, and how both of them kind of viewed that relationship ultimately coming back together. I really enjoy these books because this is the first book in that little series that's going on by Tara DeWitt. It takes place in a small town that they basically describe to be like Forks, Washington and Twilight. I also love that vibe of like the small town element that it brings to it. The next book is coming out soon and I'm very excited for it. Also the way that they decided to communicate through their problems, and by that I mean like what led to their marriage, and then when they discussed like, okay, this is kind of what fell apart in our marriage, and then the way that they basically made an action plan to take those things head on and kind of actually make a change within the relationship before seeing if getting back together would work. I just really like that. I feel like it showed like a healthy version of a second chance romance of, again, it's not toxic why they like fell apart, but they come back together in a very beautiful way. Unfortunately, the next book that I read I also didn't like, and that was Cash. I gave this book a 2.5 stars. This is a cowboy romance. The plot of this one is you have our main character. She basically has had like no contact really with her dad for the past years of her life, and her dad dies. He leaves like his big ranch and workers and everything to her. It takes place in Texas. She's living in Dallas at the time. She's trying to get her own business off of the ground. She's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take this on and I'm going to end up eventually like selling it to make money. That way I can put it into my business. But that's when she meets Cash, because Cash works for her dad and was very, very close with her dad. And basically they have animosity towards each other right off the bat, because this was one of my problems with the book, is Cash really doesn't know everything. Like he very much only knows what her dad has told him about the situation, which was not a lot. And with that information, he decides to judge every single move that she makes and basically just say like plain mean things to her constantly. Like the things that come out of his mouth is truly baffling to me sometimes, and I honestly got whiplash because they would have this moment where he was just being literally so mean. And that's another one of my pet peeves, is like when you have a Grumpy Sunshine book, I don't like when the man is just mean and we mask it as him being grumpy, because there's just a difference between being like a little closed off grumpy versus just being a guy who is genuinely saying mean things to his partner and then saying that he's in love with her all of a sudden. That's what this book felt, where it was like, I do not see how we are romantically escalating at all. Personally, if this was me, I would have been out of there a long time ago. His character development just fell very flat for me, where you didn't see, for me at least, progressive development. It just felt like all of a sudden we were just kind of like, boom, now they're in love. He's this whole entire like different person overnight. Their chemistry in their book just felt very lust based, and just in my personal taste wise, I don't enjoy when the relationship just feels purely like 100% lustful and like there's no actual feelings involved. I prefer to have feelings and then you can start bringing that into the story. That's just personally my taste. I enjoy an emotional connection over, you know, physical connection in books. So yeah, Cash fell flat for me. I don't think I'll continue on with any of the rest of the books, because I think the rest of the books follow the brothers, because Cash has like a few brothers, and I'm okay. Next up, I did reread The Love Hypothesis because I was in a very bad book slump at this point. Like I could not pick up a book for the life of me. Like starting a new book was just not happening. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make this video. And the video idea was for me to reread like some of the OG book talk books. And I remember it was The Love Hypothesis, Six of Crows, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo that I was going to read. for that video. The Love Hypothesis had always been one of my like 5-star reads from years ago when I first started getting back into like heavily reading, back when I was like a senior in high school. I was like, you know what, let's revisit it. On the reread, I did put it to a 4.5 stars. I still like, I really enjoy Ali Hazelwood's like women in STEM romances, you know, The Love Hypothesis, Love Theoretically, Love on the Brain. I really enjoy those. Are some of my favorite romances. I know that a lot of people's opinions on them were like, it just all feels the same. I don't care. Literally feed it to me for the rest of my life. I also picked this up because this was right when like the movie casting got announced. It still holds up for me. I was kicking my feet, giggling. I was having a good time. You know, Adam Carlson, he's still the one. He's still one of the ones for me for like some of my favorite book boyfriends I've ever read. In the book, it's just like quirky and silly in the cutest way possible. If you guys have not read The Love Hypothesis, don't know what it's about, you're following Olive. She gets caught in a situation where she wants her roommate to date this guy, but her roommate thinks that she likes said guy. So basically she tells her roommate like, I'm on a date, but she's really in the lab. Her roommate shows up and she freaks out and decides to just kiss this random guy. It's book logic. Like, what do you expect? That guy is Adam Carlson, who is a professor at the school. It's not like one of her professors, but he works at the same like school that she is at. And basically they ultimately strike up this fake dating relationship because it benefits both of them. And then I was just on a reread kick. I decided to reread the Addicted series just for my own joy and entertainment. And if you guys don't know, kind of in that same category of some of those OG book talk books, the Addicted Calloway Sisters series is one of those. And I read these back in like 2021, 2022, I believe, when I, again, was first getting heavily back into reading. Addicted Calloway Sisters is a kind of, I call it a sister series, unironically, because you have the Addicted series, which is is it 4 or 5 books? No, 5 books. Then you have the Calloway Sister series, which is 4 books. They all kind of are going through like the timeline, like that's how the books go through the timeline. I don't know if that makes any sense. When I tell you guys, the Addicted Calloway Sister series literally changed my reading life and also changed my life a little bit, because you know when you read especially a series like this and you just get so connected to the characters that you convince yourself that they are real people. I remember specifically like sitting in the Dunkin' drive-thru getting a coffee one morning and I was thinking of the Addicted Calloway Sister series characters and literally went to like grab my phone to go like look them up on Instagram. That is how delusional I was getting with these books. And I've never reread them. I've reread some of my other favorite series and I've never revisited the Addicted Calloway Sister series because in the way that I was connected with other series that I went on to love, I just don't think I ever had the same connection as I did with them. And I decided to pick them back up for the first time like years later. Like these were the first books I read in August. So I ended up rereading Addicted to You, Ricochet, Addicted for Now, Kiss the Sky, Hot House Flower, and Thrive. I will say this, I didn't rate them on the reread because I don't know, like these were ones that I couldn't rate because these are in the 5-star category for me. Upon the reread, I will say I don't think I enjoyed them as much as I did initially because there were just things that really bothered me upon the reread. One of them specifically being the way that Reich and Daisy's relationship was handled. I don't know if I just blocked this out or if I forgot, where Reich and Daisy weren't really ever my favorite couple. I was always a Lily and Lowe girl, which is basically like who the series starts with, is Lily and Lowe. But especially on the reread, Reich and Daisy's relationship, not just because it's age gap and I'm not a huge age gap person, specifically because of the way that the age gap was handled and like conversations that they would have with each other when Daisy was underage, and not just underage, like they have an age gap between them where she would be like 16, 17 years old, and the things that they were saying to each other, I was like, this is how the other characters would handle it. Like, just for a little bit of context, if you guys have never heard of the series before, basically you are following the core 6. Core 6 is Lily, Lowe, Connor, Rose, Reich, Daisy. That is the 6 characters that you are following. They all have their own books with their own couples, right? Basically, it just feels like you are reading a slice of life because they are these very rich kids. Like all of their parents own very big company corporations and have so much money. Rose and Daisy are Lily's sisters, and then you kind of throw Reich and Connor in there. So you're just watching them kind of go through this life of theirs together and navigate things. There's drama, tension. So that's kind of what these books are. But Daisy is a model and has been a model since she was like a teenager. The way that they would excuse like Reich and Daisy's banter, because Daisy's just around older people, so she's just more mature, it gave me the ick. It made it hard for me to continue rereading the series. So that also kind of affected my rating a little bit, because I feel like I had the nostalgia glasses on, because I still do like love the series, but specifically the Reich and Daisy stuff was really what was bothering me. From there on out, I just read books for the first time. So I read You Again. Finally, this book has been sitting on my physical TBR for a while now, and I finally ended up reading it, and I actually unfortunately gave this book 2 stars. This book is essentially a When Harry Met Sally in book form. You're following our 2 main characters. It's dual POV, them like first meeting each other and over a span of years how they keep bumping into each other and what their relationship to each other looks like every time they meet back. And then obviously one of the final times that they like meet each other again, it just kind of sticks and they continue on with like a friendship relationship. I want to let this be known, When Harry Met Sally is one of my favorite rom-coms ever. Unoriginal, I know, but I do. I love the movie so much. However, I do not like You Again, and it is specifically because of both of our main characters. I did not like either of them. I found both of them to be equally insufferable. I also just felt like their relationship with each other, whether that was romantic or friendship, was just toxic. Every single relationship that I saw within these books, none of them were healthy, and that is not my vibe. That is not my thing. I felt like they were terrible at communicating with each other, like absolutely terrible. Not just like, oh, they're like conflict, we're miscommunicating. No, the whole entire book is them miscommunicating with each other. And then if it wasn't miscommunication, they just weren't being like the best human beings, like deep down. Like it just was a little bit of being like, specifically with our male main character, that is where a lot of my problems ran in, with like just being a like decent human. He was just kind of very annoying and rude to everybody, and that kind of changes as the story goes on and they go through different things. He kind of grew on me a little bit, and so did our female main character, but ultimately both of them just did not win me over, and their relationship was not something that I rooted for. Then I read Impractical Magic. I gave this book a 4 stars, okay? This book is just fun. Like, this is where I was getting into some of my fun fall reads, and this was just that, where basically they say it's like Gilmore Girls. You felt that. It literally felt like Gilmore Girls, but make it witches. It is about our female main character. She goes back to the town that she grew up in. Her family is a family of witches, and they have always ran this inn, and the town is literally Gilmore Girls. But basically the way that they describe this town is like the magic that the witches use in the town is to keep that autumnal perfect feeling alive. But the thing is if you aren't a witch and you leave the town, you completely forget that the town even exists. It doesn't even exist in your mind. So basically if you're not a witch, you have to like live in town, and if you leave, you will forget it. You'll forget that it ever happened. You'll forget everybody that was there. She comes back because the magic is all out of whack and she has to come figure it out. She doesn't want to come back home because she left home because of an incident that happened. It was fun and it was sweet, and also I really enjoyed the romance. Like, it was just a perfect fall witchy read, and for that I gave it 4 stars. Like, there's honestly like not a ton to write home about for what it was. I really loved it. Then I picked up Not Quite Dead Yet, and I gave this one a 4 stars as well. I really enjoyed this one. I really liked the vibe of this one as well. I'm obviously uploading this in October, so you guys should try to pick this one up because it actually takes place on Halloween in like the few days. I think it's like 7 days or so after Halloween, where basically our female main character gets into this accident, well, more of an incident on Halloween, where she comes home after being at this like fair festival thing. Somebody breaks into her house and basically hits her over the head from behind, so she does not see who it was. And when she awakes in the hospital, they basically give her the terrible news that she only has like a week to live. Like, there is no time for her. She is going to die. She decides to find out for herself who attacked her and who wanted her dead. And so she teams up with somebody, and they basically are on this mission to find out who did this to her. It's twisty and turny. It has everything that I love about Holly Jackson's other books. I will say I don't think this is her best book that she has written, but I did really enjoy it. There were some emotional moments where I literally was getting emotional towards the end. The characters were very interesting, as in they really had you hooked. There were a lot of like interrelationships within the story of what made it twisty and turny, and like a classic whodunit feeling, who they were to her or who they were to people that she knew and why they would want to do something to her. And there was also a lot of drama because she comes from a wealthy family, and kind of her own family dynamic with her brother and her mother and father and how they treat her was also thrown into the story. So you had a little bit of that like rich family drama. It was a very attention grabbing book. I read it in one sitting. Our last two books were absolute hits for me. First, we have Love Arranged. I think this is the last book in this. Oh, I have the book right here, so I can tell you guys. It's called the Lakefront Billionaire series. I really enjoyed this series by Lauren Asher. I really liked every single book in this series, and this one was no different. I will say why it was a 4-star and nothing higher was I always kind of get this feeling when reading Lauren Asher books lately, especially within the series, is it's just a little too long. Like, here's my thing. I've said this before, that if I really enjoy a couple, I don't mind having a little bit of a longer book, but I feel like you have to keep things interesting and not just keep like going around the merry-go-round. You know what I mean? Don't just keep repeating the same scenes and same feeling over and over again, because that's just kind of mundane a little bit, and then it starts to lose the sparkle of the book a little bit when you start doing that. That's where I feel a little bit with Lauren Asher books, where I'm like, they just went on a little bit too long, specifically within this series, because all of these books are, I mean, this is like a thick book for a romance. That's just how I felt with this one a little bit, but I really enjoyed our two main characters. We have another like fake dating, I think it's fake engagement, fake marriage. You have Lorenzo and Lily, and Lorenzo has been built up since literally the beginning of this series, so I was excited for this book to see his like inner, like what's going on with him, because you could tell there was more to him from the first book. And then you have Lily, who is basically our main character from the first book in this series. It's her sister, so you're following them. Basically, Lily and her whole entire family are so beloved in this small lake town, and they decide to strike up this fake engagement with each other because he's running for mayor, and they basically both have the same end goal for what him being mayor would entail. So they strike up a fake relationship, and you kind of see them navigate through his persona to other people versus who he really is, and kind of working through that, and then also things that she has going on that she's working through. I like how we bring in an emotional element with the plots. Like, Lauren Asher always has something emotional going on. The last book that I read was the only book that I got to in September, and that is If It Makes You Happy. I was so happy with this book. I gave this book a 4.5 stars. I can see why this book has been sold out literally everywhere. If you guys have been keeping up with my vlogs, I have went all over looking for a physical copy of this book, had not found it, and then I ended up just ordering it. And then why did I go to Barnes today? And they had so many copies of it. Maybe that's a lesson in patience. Anyway, If It Makes You Happy, we kind of have a similar plot going on, where our female main character just recently lost her mother, and her mom and dad basically a few years past had moved to this small town, very much Gilmore Girls-esque. Her mom and dad started running this inn, and basically her dad is just not in the headspace to run the inn, and her younger sister is in college, but she's finishing up college. So in that time between her sister finishing up college, she decides to go to the small town and run the inn for her. Once she gets there, she meets the baker that lives next door, and he's a single dad. He has 2 daughters, and they basically strike up this friendship with each other. I loved it. The way that this book was written, if you go back and watch this vlog, I read it in this vlog, and I share like some of my favorite quotes and the writing, and I kind of have more in detail, in-depth review as I am reading the book. But I will tell you guys, I loved them as a couple. I was rooting for them. I felt the chemistry through the pages, and I loved the way that this author was writing the book. And I said this in that vlog, but I truly did not expect this to be as well written as much of a delight as it was. And I don't like saying that because I feel like it makes it feel like, oh, all autumnal books are just shallow and there is no chance of them to have any real true depth to them. But I think we all kind of understand a little bit, like when you are picking up these fall reads, you're not necessarily going into them expecting depth and emotional connection, and it is a pleasant surprise when that does happen. And that is what happened to me with If It Makes You Happy. I was so like taken aback by, in a good way, by just how good and hard-hitting some of these quotes were. There are a few lines that just really stick with me. Like one of them is a metaphor that he says where our main character, she's a little bit closed off, and he like metaphorically, he can tell that she's letting him in a little bit, and it's like she has the door cracked open and he's like slipping his foot through, like she's like allowing him a little bit of space into her inner like life. And the way that they both describe each other in moments of just pure bliss within how they feel about each other, I just loved it. And also, both of them have their own things going on that they are dealing with past things that have happened in relationships, because also they're a little bit older in this book. They're in their like mid-30s, I believe. And also it takes place back in the 90s. Like everything that they describe, like from the vibes of the town, from the other characters, like the side characters I loved so much. I will tell you, there has never been a time that I have been genuinely disappointed that this isn't a like interconnected series, because I was truly prepared to like see some other character stories, but they basically kind of wrapped those all up. So I was like, I'm a little disappointed for the first time that we're not doing an interconnected standalone series, because it feels like everybody just does an interconnected standalone series. Oh, was crazy. But I truly love this book. Like it is a book that I would reread like every fall. On the topic of the physical copy of this book, I read it on my Kindle, so I didn't know like how long it was. And then I saw this book in person and I was like, wow, this book is a lot thicker than I thought it was. Okay guys, those are all of the books that I read in the past 3 months. I feel like I am over the book slump. I have this like new joy and spark for reading again. And like I said, we're trying to kind of get back into the groove of all of the like reading content and, you know, the balance of that. But I am so excited genuinely for like this last quarter of the year and the reads that are going to come with it. Like we're in my favorite season. My favorite time of year is coming up after that. So I want you guys to tell me, recommend me some books down below that you would like to see me read before the year is over. Recommend me some videos that you would like to see me make. Like I am all for what you guys want to see always, but especially for this later half of the year, I would appreciate any feedback that you guys have of any ideas that you guys would truly want to see from me. As always, thank you so much for clicking on today's video, for caring about me yapping about books. I'm feeling very sentimental lately and just like really looking at an overview of my life, and you guys are truly something that I've always been very grateful and thankful for, but especially now in this phase of life that I'm in, the fact that you guys just care to sit down and watch me chat about books or read books, or even if those of you who tune into the vlogs and just watch me live my life, I truly appreciate you so much, like more than you guys know. And I love you guys. I will see you guys when I see you.